I want to start with something that I know many caregivers feel but rarely say out loud. There comes a moment, sometimes early, sometimes after months or years of managing alone, when you realize that what you're doing has exceeded what one person can reasonably provide, when the needs have grown beyond your capacity, when exhaustion has moved from temporary to chronic, when you find yourself wondering, quietly and guiltily, whether you're still doing this well. And in that moment, most caregivers do something that costs them enormously. They don't ask for help, not because help isn't available, but because asking for it feels like failure, like an admission that they weren't enough, like a betrayal of the person they love. I want to challenge that belief directly today, because the National Institute on Aging, in its guidance specifically written for Alzheimer's caregivers, says something that I think deserves to be said clearly and out loud. Asking for help shows your strength. It means you know your limits and when to seek support. That's not encouragement language. That's a clinical recognition that Alzheimer's caregiving frequently exceeds what one person can sustainably provide, and that building a support system is not a sign of inadequacy. It is, in fact, one of the most important things a caregiver can do for the person they're caring for. Today we're walking through the full landscape of help that's available, the specific services, how to find them, what they cost, and who can help pay for them. And I'm going to build towards something that most caregivers don't discover until they're in crisis, a resource category that can change the sustainability of your caregiving situation more than almost anything else. Stay with me. Let's start with the foundation of what the research on Alzheimer's caregiving tells us. Alzheimer's is a progressive disease. There is currently no cure. Symptoms, memory loss, confusion, behavioral changes, physical decline, will worsen over time. And as the disease progresses, the care it requires increases. That is not pessimism. That is an accurate description of what you're navigating. What this means practically is that the care arrangement that works today may not work in 6 months. The level of help that's appropriate now will almost certainly need to expand. And planning for that expansion before it becomes urgent, identifying services, understanding costs, knowing what's available, puts you in a fundamentally stronger position than scrambling to find solutions in a moment of crisis. Many caregivers wait until they're overwhelmed before seeking help. They manage alone until something breaks: their health, their relationship, their ability to work, their emotional reserves. And then they're trying to make complex, important decisions about care services under conditions of exhaustion and crisis. The NIA's guidance is clear that it's okay to seek help whenever you need it. Not just when things are desperate, whenever. That includes now, even if things are still manageable. Setting up support before you're overwhelmed is not an overreaction. It's good caregiving. Let's walk through the specific services available, starting with in-home support, because for many families, keeping the person with Alzheimer's at home is both the preferred arrangement and the one that requires the most coordination. Home care services, not to be confused with medical home health services, provide aides who come to your home to help with personal care and daily activities: bathing, dressing, light housekeeping, transportation, companionship. These are not medical professionals. They don't provide clinical care, but they provide the hands-on daily support that can allow a caregiver to rest, to work, to handle other responsibilities, or simply to have a few hours of their own life back. Home care aides can come for a few hours or stay overnight. They charge by the hour, or a flat rate for overnight stays. Medicare generally does not cover non-medical home care, but long-term care insurance may, and this is worth checking your policy for specifically, because many people don't know what their long-term care insurance actually covers until they try to use it. Home health care services are different, and the distinction matters. These are medically skilled services ordered by a physician for a specific medical condition: in-home nursing care, physical therapy, occupational therapy, or speech therapy. These are time-limited, condition-specific services. Medicare does provide limited coverage for certified home health agencies, but the services must be genuinely short-term and clinically necessary. To find home health services, the Home Health Compare tool on Medicare.gov allows you to search and compare certified agencies in your area. Your physician can also provide referrals. When evaluating any in-home care service, the NIA recommends asking for references from people who have used their services, checking for any complaints filed against the service, verifying registration with community, county, or state agencies that regulate health services. Before signing any agreement, gather complete information about services offered, fees, terms, and any restrictions. This is not excessive caution. The quality of in-home care services varies significantly. The care provided in your home, with your loved one, in the absence of your direct supervision, is something you have every right to vet carefully. Let's talk about meal services, because nutrition, which we've covered throughout this series as fundamental to health, becomes increasingly difficult to manage as Alzheimer's progresses and the caregiver's time and energy become more stretched. Meal delivery services bring healthy, nutritious meals directly to the home on a daily or weekly basis. Many offer options for special diets and can accommodate dietary restrictions. They don't assist with preparation or feeding, but they remove the daily planning and cooking burden that falls on caregivers who are already managing an enormous amount. Meals on Wheels America, reachable at 888-998-6325, is one of the most widely known and accessible meal delivery programs for older adults. Some local governments also offer low or no-cost meals to eligible residents. Costs and coverage vary, and some services require qualifying based on age, mobility, or economic need. For caregivers who also have limited time for grocery shopping and cooking for themselves, which is most caregivers, subscription meal services that deliver ready-to-eat meals or meal kits can reduce the daily decision burden around food for the entire household. This is not a luxury consideration. Caregiver nutrition matters. Caregiver health matters. And removing friction from your own daily sustenance is part of maintaining your ability to show up for this role. Now I want to talk about adult daycare, because this is a resource that I think is significantly underutilized, and that provides benefits that go well beyond what most people expect. Adult daycare programs provide a safe environment for older adults with Alzheimer's in a facility staffed with trained caregivers. They typically offer social activities, exercise, meals, personal care, and basic health services. Many will arrange transportation, picking up the person from home, bringing them to the program, and returning them at the end of the day. For the caregiver, this provides several hours, sometimes a full workday, of genuine respite. Time to rest, time to work, time to manage your own health appointments, your own relationships, your own life. But here's something most people don't realize about adult daycare. The benefit isn't only for the caregiver. Many people with Alzheimer's, particularly in earlier and middle stages, genuinely thrive in adult daycare settings. The social engagement, the structured activities, the interaction with peers, the sense of having somewhere to go and something to do. These can meaningfully support cognitive function, mood, and behavioral stability in ways that isolated home days don't. Adult daycare is typically less expensive than in-home care or nursing home care. Medicare does not cover it, but Medicaid and some other government programs may provide partial coverage depending on your state. The National Adult Day Services Association at 877-745-1440 can help you locate programs in your area. Now let's get to something that I believe is among the most important and most overlooked categories of support for Alzheimer's caregivers. We're about 65% of the way through today's video, and what I'm about to share is the resource that experienced caregivers and professional care managers consistently identify as one of the most transformative for caregiver sustainability. It's respite care. Respite care provides short-term care for the person with Alzheimer's, at home, in a healthcare facility, or at an adult daycare center, for the specific purpose of giving the primary caregiver a genuine break. Not a few minutes. Not an afternoon where you're still reachable and emotionally on call. A real break, which may last a few hours, a few days, or even a few weeks. Here's why this matters so much more than most people initially appreciate. Caregiver burnout is not just an emotional phenomenon, it's a health phenomenon. Research on caregivers of people with dementia consistently shows elevated rates of depression, anxiety, immune suppression, and physical health problems compared to non-caregivers of similar age. Sustained caregiving without adequate recovery time doesn't just affect the caregiver's well-being, it affects the quality of care they're able to provide, and it affects how long they're able to sustain the role at all. Respite care is not indulgent. It is a clinical necessity for sustainable caregiving, and yet it remains one of the most underused resources among family caregivers, because asking for it feels selfish, because arranging it feels complicated, because the guilt of stepping away overrides the clear need to do so. The Arch National Respite Locator is a searchable online tool that can help you find respite services in your area. The Administration on Aging's Elder Care Locator at 800-677-11116 is another comprehensive starting point. For people whose loved ones are receiving hospice care, Medicare covers up to 5 consecutive days of respite care in a hospital or skilled nursing facility. If you are a veteran or caring for one, the Veterans Administration has specific caregiver support programs worth exploring, including respite options. Their caregiver support line is 855-260-3274. Let me also introduce a resource category that many caregivers have never heard of until they're deep in the caregiving process, and then wonder why no one told them about it sooner. A geriatric care manager, also called an aging life care expert, is typically a licensed nurse or social worker who specializes in care for older adults. Their specific role is to work with families to assess needs, create care plans, and identify and coordinate services in the community. Think of them as a navigator, someone who knows the local landscape of services, insurance options, care facilities, and community resources, and who can help you build a coherent, sustainable care plan that fits your specific situation. This is why doctors rarely explain this clearly. Geriatric care managers operate outside the traditional medical system in ways that make them invisible to many families. They're not prescribing doctors. They're not nursing home staff. They're professional coordinators of the complex puzzle that Alzheimer's caregiving involves. And for families who are trying to manage from a distance or who are overwhelmed by the complexity of what's available, they can be genuinely transformative. Medicare and Medicaid generally don't cover geriatric care manager services. Most families pay out of pocket, and the initial assessment can be a meaningful cost. But for families navigating complex, high-stakes caregiving situations, the return on that investment, in better care coordination, in avoided crises, in caregiver clarity and sustainability, is frequently significant. The Aging Life Care Association can help you find a geriatric care manager through their directory, reachable at 520-881-8008. Finally, let's talk about hospice services, because this is a resource that families consistently access too late, and that provides far more than most people realize. Hospice services are for people near the end of life who are no longer receiving treatment aimed at curing their illness. The focus shifts entirely to comfort, keeping the person as comfortable and pain-free as possible in their home or a hospice facility. But hospice does something equally important for families. It provides end-of-life support to the people who love the person who is dying, emotional support, practical guidance, help navigating what is happening and what to expect. Medicare, Medicaid, Veterans Health Administration, and many private insurance plans cover hospice costs. For families managing hospice in an assisted living facility or nursing home, room and board costs may apply separately. One thing worth knowing: choosing hospice doesn't have to be permanent. A person can stop hospice services at any time if they wish to resume life-prolonging treatments. Hospice is a choice about care philosophy, choosing comfort and quality of life, not a one-way door. The National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization can be reached at 800-658-8898. The Hospice Foundation of America is at 800-854-3402. If you're wondering whether it's time to have the hospice conversation with the healthcare team, the honest answer is, have it earlier than feels necessary. Earlier access to hospice support means earlier access to the clinical, emotional, and practical resources it provides, for both the person with Alzheimer's and for you. Let's bring everything together with practical actions. The first is to build your local support system deliberately and now, not when you're in crisis. Identify family and friends who can take on specific scheduled responsibilities. Connect with a caregiver support group. The Alzheimer's Association at 800-272-3900 can help you find one. Identify one community organization, senior center, or faith community that offers relevant services. Building this infrastructure before you desperately need it is fundamentally different from scrambling to assemble it in a crisis. The second is to explore adult daycare as a regular part of your caregiving structure. Even 2 or 3 days per week of adult daycare can transform the sustainability of home caregiving. By providing the person with Alzheimer's with social engagement and structured activity, and providing you with the recovery time that sustains your health and your ability to continue. The third is to schedule respite care before you feel like you need it. Contact the Arch National Respite Locator or call 800-677-1116. Find out what's available in your area. Book it. Use it. Not as a reward for reaching a breaking point, but as a regular, non-negotiable part of your caregiving structure. Your ability to continue is the most important resource in this person's care. Protect it. The fourth is to understand your insurance coverage for caregiving services. Now, while you have time to research it clearly, check your long-term care insurance policy for what is and isn't covered. Understand what Medicare and Medicaid cover for home health, respite, and hospice. Know what you'll need to pay out of pocket and begin planning for those costs if needed. The Benefits Checkup Tool and USA.gov Benefit Finder can help identify programs you may qualify for. And the fifth is to give yourself explicit permission to accept help and to stop treating self-sufficiency as a virtue in this situation. Caregiving for a person with Alzheimer's is one of the most demanding roles a human being can take on. It was never designed to be a solo endeavor. The people who do it best, who sustain it longest, who maintain the highest quality of care, are not the ones who do it alone. They're the ones who built a team around themselves and the person they love. Asking for help is the wisest thing you can do. For them, for yourself, for the sustainability of everything you've built in this role. Here's what I want you to carry with you from today. You are not failing by needing help. You are responding accurately to a situation that genuinely requires more than one person. The services we've covered today, home care, home health, meal delivery, adult daycare, respite care, geriatric care management, hospice, these exist because the need is real, widespread, and documented. They were created for people exactly in your situation. They are not charity. They are not giving up. They are tools for doing this job better and longer, and with more of yourself intact. The person you're caring for deserves your sustained presence, your genuine attention, your best care. None of those things are sustainable without support. Build the support. Use the services. Accept the help. And please, honor yourself for what you're carrying. The work you do every day, largely unseen, largely unacknowledged by a world that doesn't fully understand what Alzheimer's caregiving involves. That work is extraordinary. You deserve support. You deserve rest. You deserve to not do this alone. Please reach out for what's available. It's there for you. Before you go, here's something I want to leave you thinking about. Throughout this entire series, we've covered the full arc of aging, from nutrition and exercise through brain health, through Alzheimer's, through caregiving at every stage. But there's a conversation we haven't had yet that underlies almost everything. It's about what it means to age with intention, to make choices about your own health, your own care, your own legacy, not in response to crisis, but from a place of genuine reflection and preparation. The conversations with family, the legal and financial documents, the care preferences you'd want honored if you couldn't speak for yourself. Most people avoid this conversation their entire lives until it's too late to have it on their own terms. We'll explore that next, with the clarity and respect it deserves. And if you want to be there for it, if you want to keep building a complete, honest, grounded understanding of what it means to age well, subscribe to this channel. Take very good care of yourself. You have done something remarkable by being here, by learning what you've learned, by caring the way you care. That matters more than you know.